Hey everybody, welcome back to Fussy Cut Crafts. I'm Adrian. Um, it's Saturday and I filmed this video quite a while ago, but why? Why did nobody tell me about this really incredibly easy way to bind journals? I've been messing around with staplers and considering actually sewing signatures into covers and all that kind of stuff. I got a little kit on Amazon because this was on sale, I think, for like, I don't know, maybe $13 or something like that. It's a tiny little adorable 6-hole punch that came with the set of kind of like binder rings or whatever that you just clip together. And so I got this kit to see how it would work out, and I I'm gonna make a journal with it. And this is something I can use to make journals in the future. It works very well. It's not a name brand or anything. Um, but this was really super easy and a fun way to quickly put pages together. Um, And what I did, I've had these are all boxes from frozen meals. I've had these sitting on my art table here for probably a year, if not longer, trying to figure out what to do with them. Um, well, I knew I was going to make covers out of them, or that's why I kept them. But I hadn't done it yet because as you see, I had, broken them all down basically, and they were just stuck in between my binders of fussy cuts and random papers and wrapping paper and all the other stuff I have on my table. And I hadn't used them yet. So I thought, screw it. I'm just going to make pages out of these light cardboard boxes that all these frozen and refrigerated meals came in. And I loved I really loved how simple this was. As you can see, I had already cut some things out of here for my junk journal. I think I used a picture of the actual food item that I got there to put in my junk journal. I cannot believe, with all the videos I've watched about making journals and binding journals and junk journaling in general. And I'm going to have to look the creator's name and page up, YouTube page, because I was watching a random video from somebody I had never watched before. And she pulled out this journal she had made and had this, it had it was either 5 or 6 hole punch. And I'm like, wait a minute, where did that come from? I didn't even know that these little hole punch things were a thing. I thought it was a 3-hole punch or those ginormous crocodile punches or nothing else. So you see me cutting up these boxes, and I'm just going to use all of these to make a few pages in a little journal. Now, supposedly, obviously these are thicker because they're, cardboard, but supposedly the binder rings can hold 80, I think, pages. If you're using like regular office paper or whatever. If you decide to get one of these little kits, and I'll link it in the description, the one I got. But if you decide to get one of these little kits, I think it would be best. not to put, even if you do just use regular office paper or, junk mail or whatever, uh, don't do a full 80 pages, because obviously you're going to be filling these things either with junk journal materials or photographs or painting and doing art and sticking things to them and everything. So we know these are going to get, it's going to get super chunky. So you don't want to have the full amount of pages in there and then try to add a bunch of stuff, because you're just going to get, unless what you like is to have a chunky journal that comes nowhere near closing. If that's fine with you and you're not worried about having a place to store it and being able to fit it on your shelf among your other journals or whatever, and you like having it just basically wide open once it's finished, then no big deal. But otherwise, you know, think about what you're going to be using it for. Obviously, if you're using it for junk journal stuff, it's going to get a lot chunkier, a lot quicker. If you're just going to be drawing in it or just going to be writing in it, not quite as big of a deal. So, I mean, if you're going to be sticking stuff to the pages and putting in packaging and photos and all that kind of stuff, all that kind of junky stuff, probably I would start with 20 pages of, regular paper. And then one of the cool things about this is, because these binder rings, like all 6 rings are connected on one kind of spine, and you just snap them together when you have all your pages you want to use set, but you can easily snap them apart and then add more pages. So if you start with 20 pages and fill that up and it's not looking too chunky, you can always just add more pages. You know, go up and add another 10 pages or whatever and fill that up, and you can just kind of fill it as you go along until it gets to your desired chunkiness, and then you can, make it easily make another one. And let's see, how many of these little things did the kit come with? I used one, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so it was 10. 2 of 5 different pastel colors, and there are several other kits. There are other 6-hole punches, there are 5-hole punches. I don't think I saw a small I don't think I saw like a 3-hole punch that had the holes right together or anything like that. And obviously, you don't need this little kit at all. You can buy the several different colors of these binding rings that you just snap together. You can buy those separately and just use a regular hole punch, like a hand hole punch, to put your holes in there close together. Of course, that would be a lot more difficult to organize. You'd have to do some measuring probably. So the good thing about getting just one of these small 5 or 6 hole punches is that it's all lined up perfectly, so you don't have to worry about doing any measuring or anything. So I've got all my box tops cut up, and as you see, they don't, for the most part, they line up. There's one that's kind of sticking out there, and I think I left it like that because why not? There's no rules to this homemade journal thing. So there are the one I got, there are measurements on the side there. So you know whether you're doing, so you can punch specifically for A5, A4, or B5. Yeah. And there's a little guide there, and also a little stopper on the black plastic part on the bottom, which is what catches all the punched holes, which obviously you can use as confetti or journal decoration or for ephemera or whatever once you get a good collection of those going. So I just kept mine on the B5, and this is for when you're doing if you're doing a whole set, like if you're doing holes all the way down as opposed to just one set of holes in the center like I did. And as you see, I didn't really measure anything. I tried to just kind of put it in the center of each sheet I cut, and it worked out well. I didn't there was nothing really sticking up either at the top or at the bottom because I tried to just eyeball it and center things. You do have because this is obviously a little bit thicker than just regular office paper. I did have to put a little bit of pressure on some of these to get the holes punched well. And I had taken the guide off there, which is why I ended up with all the little holes just kind of on my desk. And that's the last. Is that the last one? Yeah, that's the last one I did. I think I put all the punched holes back inside the little thing there just to collect them because I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them yet. And there weren't enough of them to completely fill that tray up. So I just put them back in there to get them off my desk and make sure they didn't end up all over my floor and no cats could eat them or anything. And you just snap it off and snap it back on. And then I lined all the holes up, chose a color of the binder rings, and you just put them in there and snap everything together. And I think because I used, a like basically cardstock to make this, this is something that I could actually use as kind of a mixed media journal. It will probably take some light. Now, it would probably be a good idea to prime the pages with like gesso or something, but they should be able to take some light mixed media. Now, maybe not a whole thick page of paint or whatever, but gelatos, a little bit of paint, some, you know, some of the like paint sprays, obviously, definitely stamping and things like that. You can use a lot of different types of pens on it without getting a lot of wrinkling and things like that. Doing a little flip through here. And what I'm gonna do next, and you see all the pages aren't exactly the same size. I'm going to decorate this because I still haven't decided what I'm going to use it for yet. Okay. I'll be back. I'm gonna get some supplies and be back in a minute. Okay, let's do some decorating. The first thing you're going to see me do here is, get out my supplies because I don't know exactly what I'm going to do to all these pages. So I'm getting out my double-sided tape. I'm getting out my glue stick. I don't like to over decorate pages because I like to be able to do a lot of writing and sticking things on them as I'm going along and filling them up. And I got out my Flow paper book for travel lovers, and let me tell you, I have had this for a long time, and I flipped through it, which is why I bought it. I liked what was in there. I haven't I until I took it out for this, I hadn't used anything that was in it. Anything at all. It's just been sitting in my storage boxes under my art table here. So I thought it was a good time to pull it out and just start ripping some stuff out. Flipping through the pages again, trying to figure out what I'm going to do here. And again, this whole process was just easy and fun and stress free. If you don't want to sew stuff, you don't have to sew stuff. So you're going to see me just flip through everything and start pulling pages out and just trying to decide what I might want to use. And here's the thing, I didn't even realize these pages are perforated. I had no idea. That's how like cursory my original flip through of this book was. I had no idea. And it makes complete sense that the pages will be perforated so you can easily tear them out. The whole book is made so that you can tear stuff out of it and use it in different places. But I had no clue the pages were perforated. I have I think I have 3 of these books, and again, I haven't used any of them. And by the way, if you want to buy one of these, I've had this book probably for over a year, but they still have them in Barnes& and Noble. So, if you like the things I'm flipping through here, if you like the images, you should still be able to buy them. If you just go to Barnes& and Noble, they're probably still available online. I think it was either 30 or $35. I think the Flow paper books are usually $35. There's another one coming out, by the way, in September. I've already got my eye on it. If you go to thriftbooks.com, their the pre-sale for it is $10 off. So it's only $25 instead of $35. If you're going to be buying this stuff, now these things are expensive largely because they're made in I think the Netherlands or something like that. They're made overseas. But if you're going to buy this kind of stuff, save some money on it if you can. These Flow paper books are highly coveted, just like Flow magazine, whether it's the English version or the version in other languages. So if you go on like eBay or Etsy or something and people are reselling them, you can pay really exorbitant prices for them, well beyond the $35 or whatever. So, get yourself to a Barnes and Noble or look around on YouTube to see who's done a flip through of them so you can get an idea for what's in it. And then if you can get a sale on it, just go ahead and get it without going to eBay or whatever. So like I said, I've already got my eye on the new book. I haven't seen a flip through of it. So I don't know what's in it. I really love the cover though. It's all like brightly colored red and orange and stuff. Um, and a lot of the times these books have themes. So I don't know what the theme of that book is, which, helps determine what kind of images are in it, like you see with this travel book. There's a lot of beachy stuff, people in canoes and in trams and all kinds of scenery and luggage and seashells and ticket stubs and things like that. So I'm not sure what the theme of that new book is going to be. But if you like the images you're seeing here, just in case you've never looked through one of these Flow paper books or looked through a Flow magazine, if you like the kind of images you see here, it's guaranteed to be similar because this is kind of their style. But what they do is they always have several different artists contribute to the paper book and their magazines. So you get some slight differences, so everything isn't exactly the same, which is nice. Okay, so I went through and I decided not to. Actually, I think later I do use a couple of stickers from the book, but for the most part, just wanted to try to cover some of the pages. So I just went through and pulled out pages I liked. And I'm trying to decide here whether I wanted the front or the back, because for the most part, with the exception of those two pages that were the first two pages in the book, everything has images on the front and back. And again, I didn't measure. I have a ruler, but I don't even have the ruler on my art table. I think it's in my desk in my office. Yeah, I don't even have a ruler out here. Um, so I just laid the paper down and kind of with my fingers just creased where I wanted to cut and just cut by hand everything I wanted to lay down. I'm pretty sure I glued everything down. And I decided not to cover all the pages because if I do whether I put mixed media stuff in here or not, or use it as more of a junk journal, I'll it'll be easy to cover the pages that have writing and images from the boxes on them. That's not going to be hard to do. And if you're like me and you just love illustrations and photography, one thing that's difficult to do is lay some of these images down from magazines or things like, paper books and books for specifically for collage images and things, and then cover them up because we like the images so much as they are. So it didn't make sense to cover the front and back of each and every page because I'm just gonna put stuff over them anyway. So this way I'll have some blank pages from the insides of the boxes so that I can do writing. I'll have some pages with illustrations or photography, and I'll have some pages that are just the box top with whatever writing or images were already on there. And I decided, I'm pretty sure, I don't think I used my double sided tape at all. I just glued everything down, which made it really easy. And I've got this little cake scraper, this frosting scraper from Dollar Tree, which I actually don't use that much. In fact, I've hardly used it at all. There's a little bit of paint on it there because I think I've used it to spread paint around before, but I hardly ever use it just for when I'm glue booking or doing collage to press stuff down and get air bubbles out. And I actually really just kind of liked the feel of using it on this book. So I think I'll be doing that more because it was just enjoyable to press stuff down with it, which sounds weird, but we've got to find we've got to find enjoyment wherever we can, guys. And if something as simple as using a cake scraper to press paper down when you're gluing it onto something else feels good, makes you happy, gives you a little bit of enjoyment, just do it. It's not hurting anybody. Just do it. So what else? What can we talk about here? What's going on? Like I said earlier, um, I recorded this video over a week ago, I think. Yeah, I think it was last Sunday when I recorded the video. This is now Saturday, and I don't know about the weather where you are. I live in St. Louis, and we've been under a heat warning for almost 2 full weeks every day. I'm talking you wake up first thing in the morning, 7:30, it's in the 80s with 85 or 90% humidity. There's no breeze. It's been ridiculous for almost 2 weeks straight. And finally, Thursday, the temperature broke finally in the morning. And I was a Friday when I got done with work because I work a half day. I was able to start mowing my lawn because, well, I didn't have to mow it at all for, I guess, three weeks to a month because it was hot and dry. We weren't getting any rain. So the grass wasn't growing. And if the grass isn't growing, I'm not mowing the lawn. I'm not going out there and just randomly doing yard work. I do not like doing outdoor things when it's hot. So I stayed away from it. And frankly, most of my neighbors did too. My neighbor next door, he's usually really good about mowing the lawn either every week or every 2 weeks, like clockwork. And he didn't mow his lawn either. He just mowed his lawn on, I think it was Tuesday. So he braved the ridiculous weather in the middle of the day, by the way. He did not do this at night or first thing in the morning. Well, not night, but dusk, like right before it got dark. He didn't do it first thing in the morning or right before it got dark. He did it in the middle of the day, which is probably why he didn't quite finish. He did the front of the lawn and left the side all wild and stuff. And I don't blame him at all because, like I said, middle of the day, it was insane outside. Um, so Friday when I got done with work, which was yesterday, at 1 o'clock, I just went ahead and I fed the cats. I got my lawn mowing trash clothes on, my boots, and I went outside and mowed the lawn. Now here's the problem. I have a shed and I usually put my lawnmower back at the end of each mowing session and lock it up, so that, the I've had the lawnmower for probably 8 years now, like 7 or 8 years, but it was expensive. I don't want anybody to steal it. It still works. There's no reason for me to take a chance on somebody taking it. But there is either a wasp or a hornet's nest inside my shed. And there was a tiny one there a month ago or whatever when I last mowed my lawn. And I was able to gradually move the door and get my mower out and not disturb it. But in the month that in the month where I was not mowing my lawn, that thing got a lot bigger. And what was one wasp or hornet is now a lot. And I, had my same tactic. I went in there, I gently opened the door where I knew the nest was on the inside of it. I opened it just enough so I could open the other door and get my mower out. But oh boy, was there a swarm. I was just barely able to get the door closed. The door is closed again, and I was about to usually I put the padlock back on and kinda close the top up and everything so that no cats jump in there or no other wild animals just randomly jump in there and get stuck or whatever, or surprise me when I'm trying to put my mower back. I couldn't do that. I couldn't fully close up the shed because there was a hornet or wasp swarm, and I had to stand completely still so as to not get stung. I've been unfortunately, this is not the first time this has happened. It didn't happen last year. I don't think it happened the year before. I think it was 2 years ago, the last time I had, or maybe it was 3 years ago, but it was a while ago now, the last time hornets built a nest inside my shed, and I did get stung that time, and it was very unpleasant. I'm glad I'm not allergic to the stings, because then probably would have had to go to the hospital and all that kind of stuff. But even without that, it was incredibly unpleasant. And I only got stung once, kind of on, I think it was like my shoulder blade or something in the back, or maybe like the lower part of my neck. And oh my God, I've been stung by a bee before. Trust me, that did not hurt as much as being stung by this hornet or wasp or yellow jacket or whatever it was. By the way, I looked it up because I was trying to determine what specifically these things were. Can't tell. There are very slight differences between the three of them: hornets, yellow jackets, and wasps. And technically, they are all different types of wasp, but the markings are too similar. The butt sizes are basically the same. I, you know, I don't know which specifically they are, but don't fuck with them is the best advice I can give you. So what I did, I went ahead and I had to leave it all basically open. The doors are, and this shed is very old. I've had the shed since maybe 2011 or so. And one of the doors, actually the door where the nest is, has been built on the inside of that door, attached to the door. That door is no longer on the hinges. It's broken. So I wasn't even able, the doors are hanging off all cattywampus. I wasn't able to close the top up. I had to just abandon all of it. So I went ahead, I mowed as much of my lawn as I could, because I have a battery powered mower. I only have 3 batteries. They are very expensive, so I have not gotten additional batteries yet, but they don't last as long as they used to because, again, I've had the mower and the batteries for like 8 years or something like that at this point. So they don't hold their charges quite as long, and of course, the taller the grass is, the harder the batteries have to work and all that kinda stuff, and the grass it has gotten pretty tall. Well, I say grass, some of it's grass. Well, roughly 90% of my yard is random collections of weeds and things. And I'm also dealing with these crazy vines that have taken over part of my house from next door. This had not been a problem until last year when somebody bought the empty lot next door and ripped a lot of the plants down, which was good because it means now I can actually like look out my office window, my bedroom window, and see across the street. Previously, I wasn't able to do that really even in winter because there were so many giant bushes and random trees and things over there that they obscured my view. But they pulled all those plants down, and I guess this whatever this vine is didn't have enough places to go in that yard, so it's now crept over into my yard. It's covering part of my house. It's covering my bushes out front, which I need to trim anyway. But it's a whole lawn situation. I should probably just go ahead and I don't know. See, I've done this before where I spent $1,000, literally $1,000. I had a crew come in and they trimmed all the random plants along the fence line between my house and the empty lot next door and the overhang and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, I remember being so proud of myself for spending the money because, again, when I spend a lot of money on one thing, even if it's necessary, it makes me nervous. If I had spent $1,000 on 8 different things, fine, no problem. But spending $1,000 on just one thing, one basically intangible thing, something I'm not holding on to, it was just having things trimmed, it made me really nervous. But I took care of it and I felt very mature and adult and I was glad it was taken care of. And then within a year, most of the stuff had grown back. Within 2 years, it had definitely grown back, and now it's all weird and overgrown and stuff again. So I just went ahead last fall, I bought myself a chainsaw, a chainsaw and a pole, so I can take care of a lot of this stuff, but I don't wanna do it right now when we're starting to kinda get into fall. So the weather is better, which is nice, but and this is another insect tail or bug tail or whatever. Over here, we get these ginormous garden spiders, and they don't just build regular webs. They build webs that cover like whole sections of a building or a yard. So, for instance, there was one year where one of these ginormous spiders, and really, like these spiders are large enough that they're almost like small animals. That's how large these spiders are. They're not poisonous or anything, which is good because they're scary just on their own without being poisonous. And I'm sure if one of them bites you because they're so huge, I'm sure it would hurt like hell. I'm sure it would really be terrible to have one of these things on you and bite you or even just crawl on you. Oh god. I hate that I'm talking about this, but here we go. So one of these spiders had decided to build its web not just in a corner of my front porch, but it covered the whole entrance to my porch. So right at the top step before you get to my actual porch, it had built the web, which went from the top, the underside of my awning that covers my porch, to like halfway down. So I was literally webbed into my house. I could not leave my front porch without disturbing this thing. And it set up right in the center, basically, right at eye level when I left my front door. So I couldn't leave my house. I wouldn't be able to get mail if the person delivering the mail was paying attention, they would have come up a couple of steps and seen this ridiculous spider and probably would have just thrown my mail on the porch or whatever. So it was first thing on a Saturday morning when I looked out and saw this, and I had to take care of it. And when I say that, again, this is how large the spider was. When I had bug spray, thank God. I had to use roughly half a can of bug spray to kill this one spider. And this spider was so big that I actually felt bad about killing it. It did feel like I was murdering a small animal. And once it was finally dead, I had to then remove it and remove the web and stuff. And I took what I can't remember what I used. I don't think I had a stick. I think I used my old people grabber, one of those those long grabber things that you can use to pick stuff up or whatever. I think I used that to kind of go around and gather the web, clear the web out and clear the spider off. When I dropped the spider's body into my flower bed, which is right next to my front porch, it made a very clear audible noise. That's how large the spider was. That it was able to disturb the leaves in my flower bed enough that it made a noise when I dropped it. So now that the weather has cooled off, these things tend to come around in late August, September, last maybe through early October. What they're doing is trying to eat as much as they can before winter really sets in. And I know this because I asked my bug guy about it. Um, so they build these webs in very random places. They don't give a shit about people or animals or where they're going. What's a high traffic spot? They don't care. They build these webs in whatever areas they think are going to be prime for catching as many insects as possible. I don't want to accidentally disturb any of these things because really my only goal is to stay away from these things in late summer, early fall. And one of the things about them is that if you just move them and don't kill them, they will either set the web up in the same spot so you haven't gained any ground, or they will set up somewhere else and then you don't know where you're going to run into them. Maybe they set it up someplace where you're not going to have to interact with them. Maybe they set it up in someplace worse. So I don't want to have to deal with those things. I'm going to finally break this chainsaw on a pole out. I said I was going to do it last fall. Last fall was real fucked up for me, so I didn't do it. Um, but I'm going to finally break this thing out and use my loppers and my hedge trimmers and all that stuff and finally get the stuff under control, because if I don't, next year when things start growing again, I'm really going to be out of luck. I'm really going to be out of luck. Um, so to get back to the lawn mowing, my lawnmower is just in my yard. It's just in my backyard. I kind of hid it among all the greenery. Um, I did chop some weeds down yesterday, so I just kind of covered the back of it so that it didn't stand out so much. My yard is not fenced in, so it's not like completely protected or anything. Um, but I'm just hoping nobody steals it. I had to call my bug people. They're coming out Monday morning to take this nest down so that I could get into and out of my shed without being stung so much that have to end up in the hospital. So that's my insect story, which I wasn't expecting to have fill basically this whole video, but you saw what I did. I covered the pages. I used a sticker there to put some little people down. I was considering, like I said, I was considering using some more stickers to cover other pages. I did use this cat sticker. I think that was it. I don't think I added any more stickers to things. Boy, I really was not. Oh yeah, I tore its tail off when I pulled it out of the book, but I got it back down there pretty easily. in basically the correct spot. Man, I was not I guess I needed to get that off my chest about the spider and the hornets or yellow jackets or wasps or whatever they are. But there really is a lot of nice stuff. If you like this kind of general style of illustration, there's a lot of nice stuff in these books. Like I said, I've got 3 of them, I think. This is the first time I used any of them. I've already got my eye on the new one that's coming out. I'll go ahead and put a link in the description to, the new one, which is on sale for $10 off at Thriftbooks. And I guess I better go ahead and buy it just in case it sells out. Now that I'm giving information away. And I'll also link to the creator whose YouTube video I watched, which clued me into this whole 6-hole punch thing. I really love doing this. Of course, I have to keep my scraps, so I just tucked them back in the book. Who knows what I'll use those for? This is a really fun, easy process. I really like using the cardstock, food packaging for this because you can add some mixed media to it. As you see, some pages kind of stick out the edge on the side there, but that's no problem. No rules. I really enjoyed doing this. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for listening to my book stories. Everybody have a great day. Like and subscribe. See you guys later.